Hi guys, and welcome back to World of Tanks, and today I'm going to be looking at the British medium premium tier 8, the FV4202P, which used to be the tier 10 British tech tree medium, and it was just the FV4202 that got replaced with the Centurion Action 10, and this became a premium tank. And at the time as well, if you had the FV4202 in your garage, when it was the tier 10 tech tree, then when it became a tier 8 premium, you got one for free as a tier 8 premium, and I think you also got the Action 10 unlocked, possibly even put in your garage, or you may have had to buy it. I can't quite remember now. And yeah, I was a bit gutted because I managed to, well, when I found out it was happening, I basically started grinding down that line furiously. I was already so far down it, I think I was up to, I don't know if it was the Cromwell or the one after that, whose name has completely escaped me and is going to bug me if I don't check it. Comet, of course. And within sort of about 3 days, I think I managed to get up to the Centurion 7-1, and yeah, then various things happened, and that was it. I had to stop. In fact, I think it was my youngest broke his arm. Not last year, just gone, but the year before. So yeah, it was just a bit unfortunate, but there you go. And I've been meaning to try and get hold of one and do a review on one ever since, but the only time I think it was on sale in the store was as part of a big bundle, but it got added to the tech tree, to the British tech tree, a couple of updates ago I think now, and I've just not got around to actually picking one up yet, but here we are. I'm on the press account, so it's on here, so I thought I'd take advantage and actually get a review of it done now. And yeah, there's something else. I'm going to do a video about Wargaming's pricing policy, because this kind of highlights it. 7,300 gold. That's what it's listed as in Tankopedia for a tier 8, and we've just had a tier 7 heavy that's over 9,000 gold on its base package. So yeah, a bit of a thing going on there. But anyway, back to this. So like I say, sits in the British tech tree. The Tankopedia lists it as 7,300 gold. I'm pretty sure that's what it is in the tech tree from memory, but because I've obviously got this one in the garage, it doesn't give me the price in the tech tree. And it was sort of an evolution of the Centurion. Never went into practice, never went into production. Sorry, but innovations that were made on this were then used on the Chieftain. And I've got a Centurion here, and one of the things you will notice straight away is it's much shorter. It's not as tall, not shorter, sorry, lengthwise, height-wise. It's not as tall as the Centurion, not by much to the top of the turret, because the turret is quite tall on this, but the hull is considerably lower than the Centurion hull, and has a much better angled upper glacis. But it's also a much thinner upper glacis, but the angling on it is so good that you do tend, you can bounce quite a few. I think it's around 50mm, but I'll check on that in the armour thing, and we'll go into that a little bit more. But yeah, essentially it's very, very much like the Centurion. There are a few differences. The gun, as far as I can tell, is exactly the same. It's a 20-pounder Type 8. That's the gun that they put on it when they made it a premium one. Obviously, it had something much bigger when it was a tier 10. But it couldn't have that at tier 8. Would have been nice, but I think it would have been a bit overpowered. So yeah, it's a 20-pounder Type B. Exactly the same stats as the 20-pounder Type B on the Centurion Mark 1 that you get at tier 8 in the tech tree. It's just that the turret is a slightly different shape, although it does remind me of, I think it's a turret that you used to have on the Carnarvon, possibly, or maybe even the Conqueror, one of the stock turrets, maybe, but I can't quite remember because they changed them a while back, so I'm not too sure. And something else that's also worth mentioning is that at some point the tech tree Centurions are supposed to be getting the same armour upgrade that the Primo Victoria, the Swedish Centurion, had on its frontal turret armour, which buffs it up to 254mm. I don't know if this will be getting that, but it is a slightly tougher turret. In the first place, it's different, kind of tougher in some ways, in others not. So that is worth bearing in mind. I don't know if this will get the upgrade. I'm assuming the Huntsman might, the other premium Centurion that we have, but time will tell. So it just not a word of warning, but just something that's worth sort of mentioning and having sort of in the back of your mind that this may not get that update. Anyway, straight off the bat, you've got less horsepower than you do in a Centurion, but don't start panicking. I'll explain about that in a moment. But you do get 240 less horsepower. That gets a 750 engine, this gets 510. The gun, like I said before, is pretty much exactly the same. As far as I can tell, it's exactly the same. Whether there's any soft stat changes, you know, like dispersion, I couldn't tell you because I don't have those values. But from what I can see and from playing in it, it's the same gun, which is, you know, it's not a bad thing. It's quite a nice medium tank gun. So 7.5 rounds a minute, 226 pen, 230 damage, 258 on your premiums, again 230, and then 42, 280 on your HE. 2.3 second aiming time and 0.33 accuracy, so it is quite accurate. Not the most accurate at tier 8, but definitely not the worst. Really nice, workable gun, I think, personally. 40-degree hull traverse, which is brilliant. 36 on your turret, again, which is really quite nice. Your turret armour itself is 170 on the front, 90 on the sides, and 90 on the rear, and a 390 metre view range. Now, to give you a bit of an idea, if we look at the Centurion with the fully upgraded turret, that gets 152, 89, 89. So side and rear near as damn it the same. But the front of the Centurion one is a bit weaker, and also that gets 4 degrees less on the hull traverse. However, that may the 4 degrees extra you get on the FV4202 may just make up for the reduction in engine power. It doesn't seem to turn any quicker than the Centurion, but it doesn't seem to turn any less quickly, less quickly than the Centurion when I can get my words out. So yeah, it just sort of worth mentioning. Now, where are we? What do I normally go? Here we are, supplies. Again, same price. It's a £20 after all. So 680 for your standard, 4,400 and 170. Equipment wise, my standard medium tank setup. Yeah, boring, I know, but it works. You know, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, sort of thing. Vertical stabilizer, if I can. If not, it's a gun lane drive, a gun rammer, and coated optics. I do like to take advantage and try and get that view range up as much as possible. I have been a bit of a scrub and put premium consumables on because why not? I can. And yeah, again, bit of a scrub with the crew. It is the presser counter. It is like a full skill crew, which, you know, does affect it slightly. But skill wise with this, well, situational awareness definitely, obviously Sixth Sense, Brothers in Arms is always worth having on there. It just improves everything else, and generally sort of standard medium tank setup. I mean, it's up to you, but I'd say you definitely want situational awareness, 100%. Obviously Sixth Sense, and like I said, I would go with Brothers in Arms. Maybe pain tolerance as well. I do have the odd crew member knocked out fairly often in this, and you know, I've got pain tolerance on here, so maybe that's something that would be worth thinking about putting on there anyway. Now, no, wrong one. As I was saying, you do have a smaller engine than the Centurion, but like I said before, don't panic. It gives you a power to weight ratio of 12.26. The Centurion's is 16.70 horsepower per ton, so it's a fair difference. However, there's something in the terrain resistances which does seem to make up a hell of a lot for it, which we'll get into in a minute. Same forward top speed of 50 kilometers an hour. That got buffed recently when it first, when the Centurions, I think, first got their speed buff up to 50 kilometers an hour. This didn't, and I think this had it slightly later. I could be wrong on that, but I'm pretty sure it was something that I did look at and notice. So this has had its speed upgraded to 50. 20 in reverse and 20% chance of fire. Fairly small engine though, takes up about half the room behind the turret of the engine compartment, so it's not like some of these tanks where it's a massive engine, really easy to hit. It is quite small. Concealment as well, 0.24 stationary and 0.18 on the move. It's quite a low tank, like I said before, apart from the turret's a little bit tall, but the hull itself is quite low, so it does kind of feel quite stealthy. Now, elevation, 20 degrees of elevation, which is actually 2 more than a Centurion at 18, and 10 degrees of gun depression, which is great. It's fantastic on ridge lines, made even better by the super angled upper glacis. And the turret is definitely more effective on ridge lines because it's got that angle you can see there just behind the gun. When you're obviously working the ridge lines, that's increased even more. And you don't really leave much of your turret to be shot at that isn't sort of angled, or angled pretty damn well when you're using that full gun depression. So yeah, it is quite nice. Now, terrain resistances, this is where it really sort of makes up for that lack of engine power. So it's just over 4 horsepower per ton less than a fully upgraded Centurion. However, the terrain resistances on this, and bear in mind that the Centurion already has pretty good terrain resistances, you know, it is pretty nice for that. They are just under half of what they are on the normal Centurion, which is amazing. The Centurion is 1.1, and 1.9. They're the figures for it. This has 0.4, 0.5, and 1. So they are brilliant terrain resistances. When you're driving it, it doesn't feel as though there's any difference in speed or engine power. The only time you tend to notice it is if you are going uphill or a sizable hill. You will notice it then. But other than that, on your sort of general going, your general ground, flattish sort of ground, there doesn't really feel to be any major difference between this and the Centurion, even though this does have smaller engine power because its terrain resistances are so much better. Turret on top, quite a big turret as well. Radio is just on the right side of the turret in the middle. Ammunition blocks, fairly difficult to hit, to be honest. You can hit that one through the front, however, as you can see, it's a very, very small lower glacis, and like I said before, a very well angled upper glacis. I have bounced a few shots off that, but it is worth mentioning as well that something like a 152mm gun could probably overmatch that. If it's 50mm, you need over 3 times. So 152, I mean, there's not many of those in the game, but they are out there, would probably overmatch that. I'd say anything probably 105mm and up would possibly, if I remember rightly, get partial overmatching against it. But again, I have bounced some surprising shots off there actually, but it's not one that you want to rely on your armour. It's just there, and it kind of saves you when you least expect. It's one of those tanks. It does definitely work best as a ridgeline sniper and support tank, and you are able to move around the battlefield quite easily. Crew members, you've got the driver down in the main turret, and then you've got the gunner, commander, and loader up in the turret. The driver's nose down in the hull, sorry, and then the gunner, commander, and loader up in the turret itself. Now, armour wise, well, basic figures. 51. So it's 51 apparently on the front, 51 on the sides, and 32 on the rear. So quite weak sides. But again, I've bounced a few off the sides while side scraping, but it's not easy. You get the angle slightly wrong and they're going to pen. It is quite thin, but you do get the side plates on there as well. The turret, like I mentioned before, 170, 90, and then 90 for the rear, but they are the basic figures, and as you can see there, it doesn't quite tell the whole story, which it never does. Also, while I'm here, nearly forgot, bonuses 60% silver, which is really good. Most tier 8s are 50%, although some of the more recent ones that we've had have been 60% as well. But yeah, 60% silver bonus and a 15% XP bonus. Now, again, I don't have the actual figures here, so these are just sort of rough figures and brackets. Obviously, angling does, take a lot into account, increases effective thickness, etc. But 1 to 20mm. You've got the side plates, you've got the tracks, the front of the engine deck, I would have said, and is that the lower glacis at the back? Yeah, it is. Yeah, rear lower glacis falls into that as well. And I think that's about it. Some of these colours are a bit tricky for me to see at times. 21 to 30. That's the turret top, the top of the commander's hatch, and part of the top deck. You can just see there that extremely angled almost where the upper glacis meets the top deck. It's not flat, but it's very, very well angled. Very hard to actually hit that bit and pen it because of that angle. 31 to 50. That's your upper glacis, but again, it is very, very well angled, and even more so when you're using your gun depression. And that's the key to this. Just try and use your gun depression wherever, even if you've just got a little knoll or bump in the ground. Try and use it to increase the angle of your upper glacis and that sort of top turret angle, going back up from the gun to the top of the turret. It just makes it more effective. And as I said before, it's a very, very small lower glacis. So if you can hide that, which is quite easy to do, especially using ridgelines and that sort of thing. This can be, a very effective ridgeline sniper. The side of the tank also falls into that, and the upper rear glacis. 51 to 70 is your commander's hatch. That upper angle on the turret leading from the gun. This is a mantle-less turret as well, as you probably noticed. But yeah, that slope part leading from where the gun goes into the turret itself, up to the top of the turret, that does fall into that category. Don't have an exact number, But again, it's alright when you're sort of on flat ground, but you really want to try and angle it. I can't emphasise that enough. 71 to 90 is, well, a small square at the base of the gun, top of the turret, and then the sides and the rear of the turret, and the lower part of the front lower glacis. 91 to 120 is the upper part of the front lower glacis, and various patches on the turret. And it is a bit of a patchwork on the turret, so I'm just going to sort of show you where these bits are. 91 to 120 is part of the turret ring and that thin strip that connects the upper and lower glacis. 161 to 190 is part of the front of the turret, as you can see there, just above the gun and to the left and the right. 191 to 230, the turret ring itself, or well, I don't know if it's the turret ring, I would call it the collar. It's almost like a collar on the turret rather than turret ring, but that does fall into that category, so that is a bit thicker at that part. But maybe easier to pen for some tanks because it's a bit flatter at the front, who knows. And then your 240, which is those very small bits just left, right and below of the gun itself. So like I said before, the turret is a bit of a patchwork. I have bounced a few off it, but if they can get a good clean shot, there's a good chance you're going to get penned. Although I think I did, I'm pretty sure somebody hit me with a heat, and I'm not sure where it was. It looked like it was in the front of the turret on this. I'm pretty sure it was on this one, and it didn't seem to do anything. It got eaten up by some sort of spaced armour. Whether they hit the gun or not, I couldn't tell you. It was a bit of an odd one. But I was trying to think about it, and I tried to look at it on the replay, and I just couldn't quite figure out where it hit. So yeah, a bit odd. But yeah, the basic figures do seem a bit scary with this one, with only sort of 51 on the front. But you've got to take that angling into consideration, and the fact that, like I say, when you're using your 10 degrees of gun depression like that, it's almost an auto bounce your upper glacis, unless they can get some overmatching on it, as is the top of your turret as well. But yeah, I guess in summary, it's kind of like a reworked Centurion. So if you want a premium Centurion or something a little bit different, but in the same sort of ilk, maybe one to go for. But let's get into the replays and see how it actually handles. Right, so here we are for the first of the replays, and I know it sounds pretty obvious, but if you're not a fan of the Centurion tanks, or you hate them, then you're probably not going to enjoy this. That might not be the case. But it's probably going to be the case. Let's put it that way. So if you don't like the Centurion, you're probably not going to like this. If you do really like the Centurions, you're probably going to like this as well. As I said in the garage, it is. I don't know. It is pretty much a Centurion, just a bit of a different shape. So whereas the Centurion might be slightly better in some ways, this is slightly better in others. It swings and roundabouts, really. There's not a great deal in it. The physical appearance seems to be the biggest difference. And again, I don't want to go on about it, but some people do skip the garage bit. So, I mean, as I said in the garage, on paper, the stats of this don't look particularly good with only 51mm of frontal physical thickness of armour. But the upper glacis is so well angled, it increases that effective thickness a hell of a lot. It's just one of those things. But if you like the support type of sort of tank, this might be one for you. Definitely, like I say, I mean, your opinions may differ. In my opinion, it does very much seem like a support tank, a support sniper, and a sort of ridgeline, definitely a ridgeline sniper. Definitely, there's sort of no question about that. But with the support aspect, it's quick enough with it having a 50km/h top speed, and those fantastic terrain resistances. It is definitely quick enough to move around the battlefield and provide support, where it's needed. Decent rate of fire on the gun, and decent accuracy. It's sort of to me, it does seem to, like I say, I like the Centurion though. So I might be slightly biased because I do like the Centurion. But anyway, enough of that. Tier 9 match, as you saw before, not heavily Tier 9. And again, few TDs on our team. Something I'm seeing a lot of recently. I think I mentioned it in the video the other day. A hell of a lot of TDs at the minute. I was in a match the other day, I think, where there were about 6 on each team, which was quite bizarre. So yeah. quite a few on our team, and you see, it looked as though it was going a bit awry this match, down on that western side of the map. But the TDs that are down there and whatever else is down there in our team seem to be holding the enemy team at bay. And there was 2 TDs, and I think there was a light tank, and I think even that medium got in on that STI and just sort of mobbed him and took him down. And apart from him, there was only a light and a medium that sort of came this way. And the medium, I think, the Pershing, he's moved further down, and that's where I'm heading now. And as you can see, it's nippy enough. You know, it picks up speed. Again, as I said in the garage, the only time you tend to notice the lower power to weight ratio is if you're going up any sort of noticeable hills, and even then it's not, you know, a huge difference. But on your general ground, this does seem just as mobile as a Centurion, even though it's got an extra 240 horsepower and, you know, just over 4 horsepower per ton more. And yeah, I'm not quite sure what that Centurion was doing. Maybe if I hadn't have shot him, he could have survived that. Yeah, I was pretty sure I was going to take a hit there from that Pershing, but I got rid of him. I did take a bit of damage and ended up having to heal my driver. And don't forget, I've got a premium first aid kit and pain tolerance on there as well. And from the matches that I've played in this, the crew did seem to get knocked out fairly often. I'm not saying it's, you know, it's really bad, but it did seem to happen a bit more often than it does on some other tanks. So again, possibly just worth keeping in the back of your mind, maybe altering your loadout or your skill or whatever, you know, depending on your own sort of experience in it. Didn't manage to get that T10. It was yeah, a bit of a weird match this. I mean, we're not even quite 5 minutes in, 4.5 minutes in, and done. So yeah, a bit of an odd match, that one. At one point, it did almost seem as though they were going to swarm around on that bottom side, and seemed to be some of the more powerful tanks. But yeah, our team managed to just come around on them instead. So yeah, a bit of an odd one. Just over 2,000 damage done. Tier 9 match, kind of average-ish for the matches that I was having in it. I'd say, yeah, kind of probably average. Top of the table, which is nice. Some of the tier 9s did a lot more damage than me, over 1,000 more damage. However, they're tier 9 and it was a tier 9 match, so it's one of those, you know, you get more experience, I think, for damaging higher tier stuff than you do stuff the same tier and lower tier than yourself. But anyway, that was, yeah, like I said, just a bit of an average match. This one's a bit better. It's a much higher ratio of tier 9s in this one. In fact, roughly about half the team. And oh yeah, here you are. Look at that for TDs. Look at that matchmaking. Yeah, I'd forgotten about this one. I'd actually forgotten what the matchmaking was like on it, and you know, I was just on about the 6 TDs on each team. Yeah, this is way worse. Sorry, I just had to pause it then. Keep getting a tickle in the back of my throat, sort of making me cough a little bit, so I'm having to keep stopping and doing that. I don't know if I've got a sore throat coming on or whatever, but I don't know if I mentioned in one of the other videos, my grandmother, she had a chest infection over Christmas. My wife, she caught it, although not sort of to the same degree, because obviously, you know, a bit younger. Well, a bit younger, a lot younger than my grandmother. Yeah, I'm glad she's not here to hear that. She probably would have just slapped me. Yeah, obviously younger, you know, healthier, so it didn't really take hold as much as it did. I just hope I'm not getting it. No, I did manage to... In fact, did I get the kill on that light? I did. That was, yeah, one of those where I think everybody fired at him, and it just happened that mine got there slightly later than everybody else's. But, you know, I got the kill. Probably didn't get as much damage as I would have liked off him, but I definitely got the kill. And with this being a tier 9 match, you know, I'm staying back. And that was nice. Straight through the front of the Oni. And again. And he's having a bad day. Yeah, it's probably taken him all his effort to get up to that ridge. He pops over it, and within a few seconds he's dead. So yeah, mind you, I think we've all been there. It just the way it happens sometimes. But yeah, with it being a tier 9 match, I just thought I'd stay back a bit. do a bit of sniping, and now that well, I don't know where all the enemies are, or the enemy tanks. I'm guessing that a lot of the TDs, I could be wrong, but most are probably going to be up on that ridge. In fact, there's 2 that have just popped up over there. That seems to be a favoured place for TDs on this map. In fact, there's 3 over there at least. So yeah, does seem to be a favoured place for them. I can't blame them, to be honest. You can get a good view over the sort of centre of the map and this bit if anyone pushes over, but I'm being very cautious. I want to try and keep myself hidden. And again, it does seem to be a little bit easier in this than in the Centurion and some of the other tanks, just because it's a bit lower. Like I said in the garage, the overall height of the tank, from the bottom of the tracks or the ground to the top of the commander's hatch, there isn't a great deal of difference over the Centurion, because the turret is fairly tall on this, but it is slightly lower that way, but the hull is much lower, so sometimes it can be a bit easier to hide it. And I know there's stuff over there. They know I'm over here and sort of shooting at me, and possibly that TD next to me, and I was just seeing if I could get them spotted just by popping up. But I'm going to use these ridges and try and keep hidden. I've got the foliage in front of me now. And can I get him again? I can. May have tracked him, but I'm not sure. Don't know where that one went. But I mean, as you can see from the gameplay that I'm doing, it's probably... oh, that was nice. I got him just as he went over the cliff and managed to get the kill shot. Yeah, you can see the way that I'm using it. It's probably the way that a lot of people would use the Centurion. You know, staying back, supporting the team members, getting those shots in. And then I do start moving around a little bit more and try and sort of outflank and outmaneuver. And that's, you know, I know there's, like I said, people out there that don't like the Centurion, but that's one of the things I do like about it. Is it is quite a mobile tank. It picks up speed quite well, and as you can see with this one, this does as well. And now, well, it's looking quite favourable for us. Artie did take a pot shot at me earlier, but they missed. I've got to be quite careful though. I don't want to be spotted particularly. I'm out in the open. I've got a feeling there's... yeah, I've been spotted. Should have backed off before I fired. And now I really need to get back. You see, it's... you know, we've got a good idea of where the remainder of the enemy team are. And basically it's all up on that ridge. We knew, you know, we knew before that there were at least 3 TDs up there. One of them got taken down. He's up here as well. My gun has been taken down. That was a bit of a nasty hit that I took there. Like I said, there are some big guns in the game, especially the tier 9s and 10s. Some of them do have some quite large guns that can overmatch your frontal armour. And that was a bit of a nasty clip from Artie as well. That could have been much worse though. I don't think that was a direct hit. That could have been much worse. And oh dear. Now that was a lucky shot. I wasn't sure that would have hit him, and there's probably quite a few tanks that it wouldn't. But as you can see, the dispersion values on this are quite nice. It doesn't seem to move around too much or expand too much as you're moving, and settles down fairly quickly. Now that was very lucky. That was some splash damage. If that had have actually hit me directly, yeah, I would have been back to the garage. But I've been left on very low health, and yeah, I'm not sure if that Waffenträger got taken out then, but I'm backing off. Again, we know roughly where the remainder of the enemy team is, and they're still up on that ridge. But instead of carrying on where I am there, where you know, I've got the possibility of people shooting at me from the ridge, I've got Artie that's obviously over near enemy camp somewhere, and that's why I've pulled back and worked my way around this way to try and get into a position where I can hopefully spot some of these enemy tanks without them either spotting me or with, you know, whatever remaining allies I'd got over there, which I could have sworn there was another one, not just that TD on my left. When I wasn't paying attention to the map then. Yeah, if they distract them or if they can see them, hopefully I'll be able to spot these guys and do something about it. But I just wanted to, like I said before, just reposition somewhere else. Just in case Artie decided to try his luck and see if I was in a similar location. Because on, what am I on there? 13 health, is that? Yeah, somebody's just going to sneeze at me and I'm going down. No, the Waffenträger's still alive. That was why I relocated. Because I needed to try and get at that Waffenträger from a different position. And he's just been taken down, but I've located Artie. Can I get the kill shot? Is anybody going to hit him before I do? Is he just taken out? Yeah, he just took out that TD. And I managed to take him down. There you go. Not a bad little game, innit? Quite an enjoyable one. Like I said before, you know, I've said it again. Great Ridgeline tank. That's where it really shines. We came out of that with just over 3,100 damage done, 4 kills and a Confederate as well. So yeah, really sort of spreading the love around there with the shells. But there you go. Anyway, the FV4202P. I kind of like it, but then again, I kind of like the Centurion. And that's just what it feels like, a sort of reshaped Centurion in a way. Slightly different features, again, on the armour and what have you, so swings and roundabouts. But yeah, essentially, you're looking at a Centurion. There you go. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed that. I'll be back tomorrow with another video for you, so until then, take care of that, and I'll catch you next time. See you later.